Hey guys, this is just a quick video I wanted to do about some antenna testing that Damon42 and I did after there was some controversy over how the DJI FPV system handles different antenna setups, specifically when flying in bando environments. There was a recent video that was put out by AndyRC that concluded, at least in the case of bandos, that the stock DJI antennas perform the same or better than using 4 directional patch antennas.
What does seem to be odd is that when you set everything to full power and use all patch antennas at a bando, flying through multiple buildings while standing outside of that building, whether you use the true RC antennas or 4 individual patch antennas like the Menace Picos, the performance is similar to or worse than using all stock DJI antennas.
Now, in that video, we weren't really sold on this because there wasn't enough evidence presented in the video to be able to make this claim, especially when name dropping the X-Air antennas as being overpriced and effectively inferring that people shouldn't buy them at all. So I'm not trying to finger point or go through all the point-by-point basis as to why I had issue with that video's conclusion. But, you know, I'll link that in the description below. You can make your own conclusions based on that. But we just wanted to do some real-world testing and see if we can actually conclude that the DJI system doesn't benefit from using 4 high-gain antennas in a bando environment. And if so, why that may not be the case. All right, we came out to a local parking garage and parked about 50 yards south of the building in a dirt lot. Now, in this situation with analog systems, conventional wisdom would say it's best to use high gain antennas so you get the best punch through the obstacles, the concrete, the rebar. Whereas if you're flying from inside the building, you would normally want to introduce an omni antenna into the mix so then you get the best coverage all around you. It's much easier to get consistent results from outside the building because you don't have to move your head to get the benefits of high gain, and which, you know, could throw off the results if I happen to look the wrong direction from inside the building. Also, the videos and test that Andy referenced in both his video and privately on RC groups were of pilots flying from outside the bando and not inside. So to get a baseline, we found the point in the garage that the DJI system with stock antennas was just on the edge of completely locking out. And this happened to be in the northwest corner of the 3rd floor at 200 milliwatts. And then we flew the same route on a variety of other antenna configurations and watched back the telemetry data to monitor latency, bit rate, and dropped frames to see if the antennas performed better or worse than the stock baseline test. Alright, so here's the first test. Stock antennas all around, 200 milliwatts. I'll show you the first flight all the way through, and then in showing the future tests, I'm just going to skip right to the 3rd floor where the signal gets the worst, so it's much easier to compare all of them. Alright, so up here in the northwest corner of the 3rd floor, this is where we're seeing the worst signal quality. You can see the delay starts jumping all over the place, and the bit rate gets down below 1 megabit per second, and the DVR starts skipping frames. Alright, so in this test, we had stock antennas on the top transmit/receive ports on the goggles, and then I used 2 ports from a VAS CYCLOPS V2 antenna for the bottom receive-only ports on the goggles. This is the configuration that AndyRC recommends. Alright, the next test is the exact opposite configuration of AndyRC's recommended. We're doing the patch antennas connected to the top transmit and receive ports, and then stock antennas on the receive ports on the bottom. Next is just a CYCLOPS V2 antenna from Video Aerial Systems, all ports connected. Next configuration we tried was 4 triple feed patch antennas, all configured for left-hand polarization. Alright, the last antenna configuration we tried was 4 triple feed patch antennas. 2 on the right port are configured as right-hand polarization. The 2 left ports are configured as left-hand polarization. The idea here is that all of the reflections, half of the signals would be left-hand polarization, the other half would most likely be right-hand polarization. The theory here is that we would be receiving a higher sum of unattenuated signals. So what did we conclude? Well, right off the bat, it's clear that the stock antennas are not performing as well as any configuration that incorporates a high gain antenna. Now, with stock antennas, we had frame drops, latency over 100 milliseconds, and a bit rate that fell below 1 megabits per second. All other configurations never dropped frames, latency stayed low, and was completely flyable. So from the data, I think we can kind of come to a conclusion that if you're flying in front of yourself and want the best punch for range flying and non-line of sight performance, then throw on 4 patch antennas. If you want to fly around yourself, throw on a couple omni antennas. What configuration for the omni and patch? Well, I don't know because it didn't seem to matter much from our testing. There's theories behind which configuration should be better, but from real world testing, I simply can't make a conclusion. So to sum it up, no, the stock antennas do not perform better than a patch antenna in a bando environment. And yes, mixing omnis and patch antennas do provide better performance over stock. Also, no, the DJI system and its MIMO algorithms do not reduce benefits of using 4 patch antennas. Keep in mind, this testing was at 200 milliwatts, and there was an entire parking structure and multiple floors of concrete blocking line of sight. It's borderline magic how good this system is in heavy multipath and non-line of sight conditions. Hell, at 1200 milliwatts, you can fly anywhere in the structure on any antenna configuration with no problems at all. I don't know, what do you guys think? Drop a comment and a like. Thanks, guys.